again, everyone. Back on the Kaijusaurus Podcast after a wee bit of a longer absence than usual, and that's because Ross, who's here as always.
I was doing some reconnaissance. No, I was. My girlfriend lives in America, so I was away visiting her. So I was in Atlanta, Georgia.
How's Abby doing?
She's doing well.
Shout out to Abby.
Shout out to Abby Jenkins. She's nice.
She's yeah.
Yeah. So that I was doing important reconnaissance. I saw no kaiju. I encountered nothing supernatural. I encountered no aliens in disguise.
Sounds like a disappointing trip.
It was really a disappointing trip. I was really just hoping for some sort of monster attack. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. But yeah, no, I had a really lovely time, and I can only apologise for causing some slight delays on getting this podcast out to you. But you know what? I'm actually not that sorry.
You also caused delays at London Heathrow Airport, didn't you?
I did cause...
Oh wait, no, you were delayed.
I was delayed at London Heathrow Airport,
That's
but
awful.
was compensated for my struggle. So you know what? I'm not that bad. I'm not that mad.
Much like the subject of this episode, it all had a happy ending.
They don't have a happy ending. So, hello everyone, how are you guys? That's what I want to know. I don't want you to email me, I just want you to sort of say out loud how you're doing. Hopefully good, but if not, you know, we're always thinking of you.
Well, here in the Kaiju fandom at large, Ross, we're all on the hype train for Godzilla resurgence.
So I was going to ask what's been going on while I've been away.
I mean, not too many major developments. The co-director yesterday, Shinji Higuchi, dropped that the film isn't finished yet, which is kind of funny to me.
That is kind of funny.
So it's due in a month.
That'll be exciting. Well, isn't that...
It's nothing to worry about.
No, of course not. But, yeah. I mean, that is the sort of style of that director, if I'm right. Like, there's that same seat of the pants. Is Evangelion not a bit like that? Like, the Evangelion movies are a bit like... We made this, it was like this, but we decided to change it at the last minute.
Yeah, well, exactly.
And you kind of want... Maybe that's a good thing for the franchise at this moment in time. Of someone that has that... you know, they have, like, quality behind them, but there's also a rogue element.
Yeah, exactly. No, well, yeah, it's nothing to worry about. It happens all the time in big films. But another thing I was going to say to you, it was announced... news broke in the English language world just this morning that... genre legend Akira Takarada is running for office in Japan.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, so
at the age of 82.
That's amazing. For what?
I'm not entirely sure at this moment in time, but I'm hearing that he's standing on a platform of anti-militarization.
Sound.
Which is
very
awesome.
Sound. And very fitting to the films that he's been a part of.
Exactly. And at his press conference, he brought along a Godzilla toy.
That's great. That's great. Hashtag vote Takarada.
Make Godzilla great again.
Yes.
Anyway, jumping back into the... Well, anything else you want to catch up on? Or?
No, I think I'm fully caught up.
Nice.
Nothing else happened. Well, I'll let you guys know I had some lovely food in America. I had some really nice tacos, I had some really nice beef brisket, and also I had 5 Guys burgers and fries, and I was all about that.
Was it good? I've heard
it was really nice. There's actually one in Glasgow, so it's not like a particularly exciting...
It is exciting for me because I can't go because 5 Guys
has...
They do all the burgers in peanut oil,
yeah,
right?
man, worse than that. When I went into the restaurant, there was literally boxes of open peanuts just in the restaurant.
See, that's me like getting EpiPen right there. Fun little tangent here, listeners. I'll tell you what, I was, a few months ago, I was foolish enough to feel adventurous with my breakfast cereal choices. I'm usually, a Cocoa Pops or a cornflakes kind of guy, keeping it safe. But a few months ago, I wanted honey nut cornflakes. And like Icarus, I flew too close to the sun. And basically, I now carry an EpiPen.
LOL.
My fucking honey nut cornflakes.
they betrayed you.
I had one spoonful, and now I was diagnosed with a peanut allergy.
You fell once, and you'll be paying for that forever.
Well, empires fall, legends live forever.
So that's what we got up to on our summer holidays.
Bringing it back to
the film at hand, the business,
podcast.
What is the Kaijusaurus Podcast, Stephen?
This is the podcast in which myself, a lifelong Kaiju fan, watches and reviews all the films in the Godzilla canon with a blank slate and newbie, Ross Lawrence.
That is my middle name, Larry for short. No one ever calls me that. No one has ever called me that.
Ross Larry Mingus.
Larry Mingus.
And this episode's focus is 1972's Godzilla vs. Gigan.
Yes, it is.
Because the last film Ross and I watched together was Godzilla vs. Hedorah, and that was a most lengthy and I think a very good episode.
Yeah, I really like that one.
I'm just getting my Earl Grey ready.
Yeah, Steven's got his Earl Grey. I've got a nice crisp glass of water here, and then also a small can of energy drink because I was getting a bit sleepy earlier.
Cannot podcast without my Earl Grey.
No, exactly.
Makes my voice silky and smooth.
We need our caffeinated beverages.
Right, so we, after some problems getting our microphone and laptop set up, which are not worth going into, we're now talking about Godzilla vs. Gigan, which we finished watching about an hour ago, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
So, Ross, Godzilla vs. Gigan. So we spoke at length in the last episode about Godzilla vs. Hedorah and Yoshimitsu Banno's influence on the franchise once when producer Tomoyuki Tanaka was in hospital.
And sort of out of commission, out of the game.
Yeah, and so when Tanaka comes out of hospital and he says to, we'd covered this last time, he says to Banno, "What have you done?
Never do this shit again.
You bloody fool." And so Tanaka immediately puts the wheels in motion to quote-unquote normalise the franchise, which is a bit to me, but whatever, It brings back Jun Fukuda, who directed Ebirah Horror, The Deep and Son of Godzilla, to sort of bring the series back onto a straightforward path.
Yeah.
And really, really scales back the budget here, to the extent that there is actually no original score. The Akira Ifukube, Shiro Honda's composer of choice, is listed as the composer, but it's all
recycled tracks.
Yeah, it's all recycled tracks from previous Godzilla and Kaiju films, and some even not from Kaiju films.
They just had in the vault.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Shinichi Sekizawa's back writing the screenplay, but it's sort of slightly playing on same sort of story as Invasion of Astro Monsters, a sort of a sneaky alien invasion, wangling their way in subversively into society, etc. Monsters under mind control, sort of anti-commercialism message, anti-technology message, which goes over a bit strangely, but we'll get to that.
Kind of comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. And so, and with this film, we also say goodbye to Godzilla's suit performer, Haruo Nakajima, who played it from every film from the original until Godzilla vs. Gigan. He retired after this. And although his replacement is in this film already.
Oh, really? That's
Kenpachiro Satsuma plays Gigan. And from 1984 to 1995, he plays Godzilla. He doesn't take over the role immediately.
No,
but he does in the 80s.
Well, that's interesting though, and that is a shame, or not a shame, but just that the original, and so far at that time the only suit performer retired, because there is very much a consistency through Godzilla's movements, I would say.
Yeah.
At least throughout the films, like it's almost the one constant. Literally, there's been that one guy in that Godzilla suit the entire time.
Yeah, well, exactly. I think he is literally the only staff member on or off camera who is in every production we've watched so far. Except for, of course, Tomoyuki Tanaka, who produced them all.
Yeah, that's true.
But so yeah, do you want to jump into this?
Yeah, I'm quite happy to dive in.
I'm happy to dive in, but I think I'm just going to preface this by saying, I do have a soft spot for this film. Like, this was among maybe the first 5 or 7 films I saw. I do have a soft spot for it. I enjoy it, but it's hell of a lackluster. This is, like, maybe you disagree, I don't know, but there's not much to this film, really. It's slight. Yeah, exactly, it's slight. It's a real, to me, nosedive after Hedorah.
And Hedorah was a big surprise for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Hedorah was something, I think we've talked about that we both really thoroughly enjoyed.
Exactly.
For what it was.
It's telling though, because obviously this film's budget was absolutely slashed.
And Hedorah had quite a small budget, didn't it?
Copious amounts of stock footage. Whereas while this film didn't gross as much as Hedorah, it grossed more comparatively to its budget.
Right, okay.
So it was deemed a bigger success.
Yeah, it did okay for what they spent in it.
Yeah, it turned a bigger profit for Toho.
Well, that's okay then. That's the important thing.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
No.
Stifle creativity, but just make money.
But just make
Marvel!
Anyone! Most films.
Goddamn Marvel cinematic
universe.
Universe.
Pooh heads.
I actually like those films.
Me too. I saw the third Avengers. No, the Captain America.
Yeah, Civil
They're all
War.
the same. They're all the
Pretty fun.
Avengers. They're all literally the Avengers, like 1 through 12. They have different names, but they're all just Avengers movies.
Civil War was fun though.
Civil War was fun.
Really into Giant Man.
Yeah.
Giant Man was a lot of
Giant
fun.
Ant-Man. But anyway, at the end of the day, with Godzilla vs. Gigan, I really enjoyed watching it.
Oh, that's
I would
good.
agree
Did you?
with you. Yeah, I thought it was entertaining. I like Jun Fukuda. I like Jun Fukuda very much, and he does have a touch on these films that you can really get a feel. There is a feeling with his movies, so you do get. And I will talk about it later on in more detail. But I think with Jun Fukuda, little things, his set designs, the way his characters are dressed, his movies tend to have sort of, I think, much sharper characterization. Even if it's just through costume, it makes your characters more interesting. Look at just every character in this movie is dressed great. Not in terms of looks good in what they're wearing, but their clothes match their character, their clothes match their role. And I will talk about this more later on.
And it's a really fun little cast of characters.
Yeah. So it is a fairly lightweight film. It's not hugely compelling. It treads on ground that we have already done before.
Yeah.
What you were saying about Tomoyuki Tanaka attempting to sort of almost force Godzilla the franchise to go back, kind of somewhere that's safe and that we've done before and that we knew made us money.
Something safe and marketable.
Is disappointing. Yes, it does make sense, but whatever.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make for a hugely entertaining or hugely newly entertaining film. But saying all that, I can watch it. I did enjoy it. It didn't turn me off in any way. But yeah, it certainly didn't capture my sort of imagination as some of the other films did.
Yeah.
But saying that, through Jun Fukuda and a few other things, I actually did think it was worth watching, entertaining, and again, a solid entry, or a solid enough entry.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and it's difficult because, again, it's very rarely that I hate a film. This is the twist. I'm sure a lot of people are waiting for me to eventually find a film that I despise.
Sorry, I'm opening a little chocolate bar.
Steven's opening a chocolate bar. The professional that he is.
Sorry.
I sometimes feel like I'm going to disappoint you guys because I don't think I'm ever going to encounter a film where I stop and go, you know what? Fuck this.
That was fucking shite.
I tend to, just the way that I am, I tend to be able to enjoy a film on whatever level it's at, on its merits or on its slimmest merit.
You find something to enjoy.
Yeah, I can force myself to enjoy something. Go, okay, well, I like this part of it. While certainly I'm sure there are some stinkers ahead.
In my opinion, yes.
Yeah, that I might totally agree with. It means that, see, if a film's just lukewarm or okay, I tend to be totally fine with it.
Oh, see, no, I see. I know what you mean, because I'm the same with the Godzilla films, because, well, there are some I'm quite hard on, particularly in the sort of mid-90s period. I find something to enjoy in each and every one, and obviously that doesn't make it a wholly satisfying product, but there's none of these films that I hate.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
And the thing is that I do actually still have a few wee things I'd like to talk about with this. There were a few wee things that there was a lot to like in this film. There was a lot that I did like. And at the very least, what I found is that it expanded on elements of the Godzilla films that I do actually enjoy.
Yeah.
It explores different elements. And though it is reusing certain archetypes and certain plots, I like the classic alien plot. This is about the third or fourth or even the fifth time, technically, that we've done... Third, maybe?
Yeah.
That we've done alien imposters.
Yeah.
So I enjoy seeing at least the variation on that theme that we use. You know, there's slight differences. Each of these different alien races that has consecutively tried to secretly invade Earth has tried for very different reasons, or nearly different reasons. But before I think we sort of march through the film and just touch on the various things that we want to talk about, we should probably just do a very swift run through for the gang at home.
So the film opens with Gengo, our hero. He's a comic book artist,
A manga artist.
manga,
Manga.
and anime. Did you see the clip of Barack Obama?
Saying anime.
Yeah. Did you see that?
Yeah.
It's great, wasn't it?
Anime.
Like thanking Japan for anime and manga.
That's right. That was a real low. So our Gengo, our manga artist, him and his girlfriend trying to get work. He's
Yes.
trying to pitch new ideas, new monsters, trying to work at comics, newspapers. Nothing's really working. His girlfriend gets him a gig or an interview or something, or a chance to meet with the director of Children's Land, a new theme park that's sort of monster based. Their HQ is in the Godzilla Tower, in the center of this new park that's being constructed. So Gengo and the chairman have a conversation.
A wee
chat.
A wee interview, yeah.
And Gengo seems to get the job.
Yeah, he seems to at least be hired for his monsters Shukra and Mamagon to be added to the Children's Land Monster Pavilion exhibition, etc. Children's Land's goal is to promote values of peace to
prosperity around the world.
Yeah.
And they keep talking, it's the idea of, is it ultimate peace they keep saying?
Ultimate peace. Perfect peace.
Perfect
Yeah.
peace, that's what we want.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that, Stephen?
Well,
perfect peace.
Well, what's wrong with it? I'm glad you asked.
It turns
Because
out
the chairman, the director and his chairman boss are space cockroaches.
they are indeed space cockroaches.
Who are invading Earth, and they bring the boys, Gigan and King Ghidorah, down to Earth to destroy
the planet,
it, and
so that they can take over the planet
so they can have perfect peace for themselves.
Not for us. Not for us.
Yep.
Their backstory being that they previously inhabited a planet that was just like Earth, except there was no one living on it. For them, the previous inhabitants, a race that they said were very much like humans, destroyed themselves because of their pollution and their waste, and allowed these aliens. What are they? Do we have a name for them?
They're commonly in the fandom
The
referred to
Nebulans.
as Nebulans.
Right,
Yeah,
well-
but they're Nebula M Space Hunter.
That's right. They're trying to contact
Yeah.
Nebula M Space Hunter. Well, we'll call them the Nebulons.
Or
for
the Nebulons, or the Space Hunters.
the Space Hunters. So the Space Hunters had been inhabiting this Earth-like planet that had been ruined by the previous inhabitants. Sounds a bit familiar. But that planet is dying out, so they need a new place to live. And seeing as that our planet is headed in the same direction as far as our waste and pollution goes,
Thanks, Hedra.
we seem... Exactly, thanks, Hedra. You left all that smog everywhere. Seems like we're a good bet. So that's why they're bringing in, or attempting to summon, King Ghidorah and Gigan, so they can wreck up the planet a
But I'll
bit.
tell you what, you know who has a problem with that?
Who?
The big G himself.
The big G,
The big cheese.
and his pal.
Anguirus. Anguirus is back.
Anguirus is not back. I would characterize Anguirus as being along for the ride.
He's there.
He's there. He
Yeah.
hangs out.
So we've seen Anguirus in Godzilla Raids again.
Yeah,
Came back and destroy all monsters. And
as
now
a
he's-
short appearance, that was really the
as-
only time we saw him.
A supporting
since then.
role.
A supporting role, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, since the second film, they sure have put aside their differences.
They
and
sure
one
have.
is completely sublimated. Literally, I mean, we'll touch on this more as we go through the film. But there's a scene where Godzilla and Anguirus are swimming to the sort of Japanese mainland to deal with the situation, and Godzilla's like full pelt swimming ahead, and Anguirus is just sort of bobbing along behind him.
Bobbing along.
Bobbing along.
But yeah.
So on the human side, our manga artist, he gets embroiled in this plot because he essentially witnesses an escape of a young hippie girl who, for her own reasons, has managed to steal the tape from the Children's Land director, from the Nebulons who are disguised, and this tape is what we learn is used to summon King Ghidorah and Gigan.
Yeah.
This hippie girl, her brother,
Yeah.
was working for the park, and he's been kidnapped because his work is essential for them to...
No, he's not being held hostage. He's just doing some overtime.
That's right, he's just doing some overtime for his employers.
Relatable.
Too real. Hashtag too real. We're going to pause, take a break, come back. Nah, we're joking. So, Gengo has met this hippie girl and her hippie boyfriend. I do not have their names. Can you hit me up with their names, Stephen?
No.
But they're a set of great characters, and we'll talk more about individual characterization and stuff in a sec. But essentially, it becomes clear that there's something going on with Children's Land. Something is not quite as it seems.
Yeah.
And these guys pledge to investigate.
So basically, it's up to our heroes, both human and monster, to put an end to the Nebulans, the space hunters, and their designs on Earth.
Their evil designs. So after some investigation, it becomes clear that there is something up with our aliens. So Gengo, his girlfriend, and our young hippie couple. Is it fair to call them the hippie couple? We are in 1974 now. Yeah, the signposts were
72.
72. Pardon me.
Right.
Pardon me.
Jesus Christ, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm quite happy to call it.
Yeah,
call them
think
that.
so, yeah. It's a double date to rescue their brother.
Exactly, it's a double date. So, as they investigate, and the more that they learn about these aliens, eventually our sort of quadrilogy of characters are captured as well, alongside the scientist brother. And in this darkness, in this low point, is when Godzilla and Anguirus essentially come to the rescue. Now, if I'm right, how do they sort of know this is happening? Does Godzilla sort of just kind of knows what's up?
Well, if you remember earlier in the film, Gengo and the young girl and the hippie play the stolen tape, and it sends a transmission to Godzilla and Anguirus on Monster Island.
Right.
Now, the version we watched, which was the Kraken Blu-ray from 2014, that's an international edition of the film, and we watched it in Japanese, so it doesn't have any sort of direct dialogue in those scenes.
Yeah.
But if you were to watch a print of the Japanese edition of the film, you know those scenes where Godzilla and Anguirus are kind of clearly communicating and kind of like warbled. You said it sounded like a record scratching.
Yeah.
There was a speech bubbles on screen,
Right,
to
displaying
demonstrate what they're
thinking.
saying to each other.
That makes sense. That would have filled in. So essentially, they decided, we better go help out.
Whereas in the English dub, which I meant to show you a little bit of, they actually dub voices onto Godzilla and Anguirus. I might show you afterwards.
Please do.
It's literally
want to picture those voices.
It's so warbled though that you can barely hear the voices.
Yeah.
Godzilla goes, "Hey, Anguirus." What, man? There's a lot of trouble going on. And Godzilla basically tells Anguirus to go fuck off to the mainland and check out what's happening, and then he goes back and gets Godzilla, and then they both go back together and eventually kick Gigan and King Ghidorah's asses.
And there's a big four-way fight that goes on for quite a wee while.
It's lengthy.
It's a pretty lengthy fight, which is disappointing because it's a lot of stock footage.
Yeah, exactly. That doesn't help that it's really padded out with stock footage.
What was the one we had a big fight? Was it Destroy All Monsters that had a big old fight that was really entertaining to watch?
Yeah, it was 11 monsters.
Yeah, the 11 monster fight.
Yeah.
Something like that would have been great. The best of times in this film, the four-way fight was really exciting.
Yeah.
But at the worst of times, it was
stock footage.
It was stock footage where Mothra appeared sometimes in the background.
Yeah, exactly. We had stock footage from in this film overall. Stock footage from Son of Godzilla, Destroy All Monsters, Invasion of Astro Monster, Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, Mothra vs. Godzilla, and even non-Godzilla Toho Kaiju films like Frankenstein Conquers the World, The War of the Gargantuas. And there's more that I haven't even named there, but I find the stock footage in this actually much more grating than I do in Godzilla's Revenge, for example, because at least in Godzilla's Revenge it took place inside Ichiro's fantasy world.
There was a frame for it, but
exactly. There's a frame for it, yeah. And it's not. I'm not excusing it, but it is an explanation.
I find that easier to put up with.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because you're repurposing the footage. You're using it for a different way. It means something different.
Yeah.
But this is literally just using the same fight footage and pretending it's a new fight.
Yeah, and it's so awfully integrated as well. Like if they wanted to use all this footage, I don't know why they just didn't set the final battle between Godzilla and Gigan and Anguirus and King Ghidorah during the day.
Yeah.
Because all of the stock footage they use is daytime footage, which they've tried to do a sort of a day for night sort of thing with. And it doesn't work at all. It just looks like dulled down daytime footage, which is what it is. And it does beg the question to me, why didn't they just set this fight during the day so they can more naturally repurpose that footage? Because it sticks out like a sore thumb. It doesn't help that by this point, I'm sure you noticed it's the same King Ghidorah suit, and he's getting on a bit now.
Yeah,
he's a lot less mobile. He's a lot more stationary, and he's just a bit more ragged. Whereas if we cut to footage of
fresh.
Yeah, and the heads are going wild, and it's really, really like
frantic.
Yeah, exactly. And Godzilla's appearance chops and changes through the whole film because the Son of Godzilla suit is used for the swimming scenes, and the 1968 Destroy All Monsters through to this film suit is used for the majority of Godzilla's new scenes. And then we've got Godzilla's from Son of Godzilla and Destroy All Monsters and Monster Zero and Mothra vs. Godzilla. Not Mothra vs. Godzilla, sorry. Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster.
Yeah.
And it's oh gosh, it sticks out like a sore thumb. It really, really does, the stock footage.
The suits for Godzilla was not great. His teeth look so weird. When he smiles, when he was grimacing.
Yeah.
The Godzilla teeth of that suit, I'm not a huge fan of. His eyes are too far apart.
See, this
is not my favourite suit I've seen.
This is actually my favourite Godzilla suit. But
is it?
This is its fourth consecutive appearance. It's a suit that was used in Destroy All Monsters, All Monsters Attack, Godzilla vs. Hedorah, and now Godzilla vs. Gigan. And that's never been done before. Like
four consecutive
consecutive appearances.
Well, you know what? If it's been in previous films, and I've only noticed it now. I probably don't like it.
Oh, it's
don't not like it that much.
Exactly.
But I would say that at least this fourth time around, it doesn't look particularly fresh. It does look kind of gross.
Exactly. Yeah. There are scenes where if you pause it, you can see bits falling off of it.
Yeah. Honestly, the Godzilla tower that they show. The Godzilla in that looks way cooler. The square rectangular Godzilla, the building-shaped Godzilla.
I was always surprised as a kid in this film that the Nebulan's plan didn't turn out to be the Godzilla tower as a giant robot or something, and they fight Godzilla with it.
Godzilla.
But that's to come.
Well. How dare you tease me like that? So to wrap up our film synopsis really quickly, obviously our guys have a very solid four-way fight, and in the end, Godzilla and Anguirus.
You never get Anguirus' name right.
I never get Anguirus' right. Anguirus' name right. Angus's name right. So our guys win. Hurrah, hurrah. Our aliens are revealed to be their cockroach form. The tower is destroyed.
They're splattered to the four winds.
Our intrepid heroes help by disabling the lasers that are pinning Godzilla down, if I'm right.
Yeah, that's right. They blow up the head of the Godzilla tower.
And they blow up the head of the Godzilla tower that was essentially zapping our monster heroes with energy to keep them down. And
with the Nebulans defeated, Gigan and King Ghidorah flee. And Godzilla and Anguirus return to Monster Island, and I guess Mystery Incorporated drive off in the Mystery Machine.
Into the sunset, that's right. So that is our synopsis. Again, it is a lot of beats that we've seen before, but like I was saying, I do think Jun Fukuda is a good director. I like watching his movies. There is like a good energy to them. Like right off the bat, our opening credit sequence is good. It opens with this roar of Godzilla, and that's also where the movie ends. It's sort of like the Joe Pesci gun thing at the end of Goodfellas, in a way. Like just a quick shot of Godzilla screaming at you. So the opening credits again, there's something to it. There's a bit of intrigue. We're seeing this the machines of the inner Godzilla head, the lights, the switches, the credits are coming through. It's not rushing us. It's taking its time, just panning through. Panning through the machines and all that. And then our very first character that we see, the very first situation we're in, is again another slice of life, a different profession. You know, we get a different profession every Godzilla movie. This time it's manga artist. This time it's an artist.
Yes,
young professional sort of comic writer artist type.
Gengo's a really fun character, I think, and I love the performance by the actor, and I love the character. Yeah, and I love his profession. I love the way like he's characterized, and I love just the way he dresses and everything. And like, I think it's so funny that he's got such a lack of imagination that, like, he was being given the brief by his editor, who I'm assuming like to, take what kids hate most and represent it as a monster. So he like literally makes
a homework monster.
Yeah, a homework monster, and a monster of two strict mothers. Shukra, the homework monster, and Mamagon, the mother monster, and it's so ridiculous.
He's greatly talented, but he can't do a whole lot with it.
Yeah, and like he bases the look of the mother monster on his fucking girlfriend. Like,
that's right. What a prick. But yeah, no. So like, he is great to watch. What is that actor's name?
I'll tell you.
Whip out the book.
His name is Hiroshi Ishikawa, and I've not seen him before, and I don't believe we'll see him since. After.
But yeah, he reminds me again of the other protagonist from, I think it was another Jun Fukuda film, the Island one.
Oh, Son of Godzilla with the reporter, Goro.
Yeah, with Goro, who's again great fun. And Jun Fukuda has always been good with younger characters.
Totally, yeah.
And making them feel like modern people of their own age. Again, the last couple of films we started to deal with the 1970s and deal essentially with younger people and a culture that's slightly different to the sort of slightly more mature and professional look of younger people in the 50s and 60s. So it's nice to see people that are trendily dressed. It's nice to see young people. Gengo's look is great. He's got that overcoat thing. He's got the yellow shirt. He's always got a satchel. Even when he's trying to sneak into the Godzilla Tower, he's got his little satchel next to him. He is a trendy young man. The costumes of our villains
you really
also
like those,
fantastic.
didn't you?
I really love them, and that's something that's always been true of the Jun Fukuda films, especially when uniformed, costumed villains have been involved.
Big bright colours.
Their Godzilla head fortress is absolutely fantastic as well. Again, another just very easy James Bond style secret base kind of look, but that opening pan through that area is great. Like, everything's lighting up. Everything feels like it could do something. But no, the design for, first of all, the director, who's almost the second in command. The face of the company, the secret evil company. And he has, it's a mix of pink and orange.
So and he changes into orange later,
Yeah, and he's got those thin glasses, he's got that little moustache, he's just got the strangest hair, and he's played so well by that actor. Again, it is just all about how little character decisions, choosing interesting, sort of quirkier actors with interesting performance styles or tics or features or just the way that their hair or facial hair is, and putting them in a funny uniform. Honestly makes a character. Sometimes it's as simple as that. There's an old Stanislavski thing as far as acting goes that says if you can't make your character interesting because of the writing or it's just a very slim character, there's not much there for you to do, then I quote the line that he says next is something very similar to, then a strange costume or a limp will suffice. Basically meaning if you throw in some random characteristics or if you use a striking costume, a character will emerge. There will be something there that's worth watching. And it's true. It just makes the film more interesting to watch. If
you're not wrong.
Populate even your villains and your uniformed sort of henchmen in sort of striking, strange costumes, it just makes for a more interesting experience. So yeah, I really like the costumes for our villains, the Nebulons, the hunters.
This Nebula M Space Hunter.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, and it generally means that the characters that we do meet feel very distinct. Even to the difference between Gengo's girlfriend and our hippie character and her boyfriend, the sort of slightly larger guy, that little bit of goatee soul patch going on.
Eating his corn.
And whip out a bit of corn, because it's quite a funny thing to do. Again, it makes for a funnier scene. Just do little things like that. And
he must have thought it was a gun.
Because I think that although this is not a hugely entertaining or hugely exciting and new engaging plot, I do trust Jun Fukuda to have fun. To direct well, to make the scenes interesting to watch, and I think that's totally true.
He achieves that, it's just a shame that he is hampered so much by having to use all the goddamn stock footage.
There's only so far that can take you if your plot isn't capital T thrilling.
See, the thing is though, what struck me watching it this time for the purposes of this podcast is that I found the new footage, particularly in the last fight, that was pretty lengthy as it was. Like the footage that was specifically shot for this film, I thought it was pretty goddamn lengthy, and like the stock footage just made it drag
it out almost. That we could have just done something. We didn't need a 15-minute fight with stock footage. We could have done a 10-minute fight without stock footage. I certainly agree. And the film was 90 minutes, and again, we've already done a 70-minute film. We could have just done that again.
Exactly, yeah. Like
there's no shame in it, lads.
Exactly.
There's no shame in making a 70-minute film.
No, exactly.
Hollywood.
And
there's no shame in making a 70-minute film.
Imagine if like Avengers Infinity War was announced as being like 70 minutes.
That would be amazing.
And like Infinity War Part 2 was like 65 minutes.
That'd be great. 20 minute. Just a 20-minute coda. I mean, honestly...
No, I agree.
I think there's a basis for just making films shorter.
And I think it's interesting that they clearly wanted to pad out their runtime, but they were so concerned about cutting costs. Like, just... I don't know, just... The stock footage is so unnecessary. In this viewing in particular, I found it really grating.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's because we're watching it in this sort of episodic way, and I'm just like... Or maybe it's just the more I watch these films, the more and more familiar I become with them.
Yeah.
And like I'm just...
What it is that it really is just... When you use stock footage as literally as though you're just using it again. Like, well, here's some fighting, we're doing some fighting, we'll use it again.
Yeah.
It becomes tiresome because it is just it's not repurposed. It is just used again for the exact same thing that was used before. So that is the difference between the sort of clip show nature of
All Monsters Attack.
All Monsters Attack that we both agreed that was actually quite fun to watch and use that old footage in a new and interesting way.
Yeah.
That's it. I don't mind if you want to make an entire film out of stock footage of old films. If you do it in a new and interesting way or do something different with
it,
that's fine. Because I'm not a huge... I don't particularly notice these things, but even I did pick up on what was familiar to me before.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the things was when the military is coming to attack Anguirus, there's a lovely shot of a helicopter above a sort of platoon of tanks and vehicles. And I noticed that one because I remember specifically loving that shot the first time I saw it.
Yeah, and Destroy All Monsters.
Yeah, and going, wow, what a great... Oh, wait, no, I know that shot already. Because I wrote it down, great shot.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, I recognise it.
Yeah.
And it was you that pointed out to me the one or two times that Mothra appears in the background.
Yeah, I mean, that's... I know this film was obviously produced before the age of, you know, home video and home viewing and home dissection, etc. But
yeah, and it wasn't built for that.
That's not really excusable.
It's not great.
That's just sloppy.
Because the end result is that you just give me fight scenes that I don't care a lot about.
Yeah.
And that I'm just watching and not really remembering what I was watching. It just, if you're not repurposing that footage, there's something about it that just the brain clicks and goes, okay, well, it doesn't make sense.
Exactly, because...
Ignore.
The fact that a shot that clearly has Mothra in view got into the film, regardless of what way you interpret that, it doesn't really come off very well for the filmmakers at all, because you take it one way, okay, a shot got in with Mothra, they were careless, okay, they're not paying much attention to what they're filming, to what they're editing then, are they? Oh, okay, a shot got in with Mothra. Oh, they obviously don't care. It's like, oh god, well, either way you interpret it.
It's not great.
Yeah, exactly. There's no real way to try and justify that. It's just sloppy.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate, because like I said earlier, I'm ripping on the film a lot, but I do enjoy it a lot, and there's a lot of things I do love about it. Like, I love the villains, and I really like Gigan. Gigan looks great.
Gigan
a great
looks
monster.
great. So this is my first time meeting Gigan, right?
Yes,
and
correct.
We will see Gigan later on, perhaps. Gigan is interesting to me, because I like the look of Gigan, because Gigan doesn't look like a natural creature to me.
Yeah.
And I assume perhaps later on, maybe I'll learn more directly origins of Gigan. Maybe not.
No, not really.
Oh, well, there we go. Well, that's fine then, because he looks cool as all hell. He literally has this Cyclops thing going on. He's got almost this red visor.
Yeah.
He looks much more like some sort of built or created monster or added to in some way.
Yeah, he looks like something that was
Enhanced.
once organic.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Has since become a cyborg. Yeah.
You know, and he fights, and he was one that I liked watching. There have been better King Ghidorah Godzilla fights.
Yes,
and you know, the first one was absolutely fantastic, and it's just difficult because at the end of the day, Godzilla can only really fight King Ghidorah in the same way, which is King Ghidorah will fly around and fire things, and Godzilla will sort of just tackle his body, and then just wrap his heads around and throw him around a bit. And it's kind of been the same method for dealing with him. Mostly, but. Again, Gigan just brings something very different to it. He's very short, he's very stout, he's got those hooks for hands, and he's got the chainsaw situation going on.
In his belly,
In his belly, which was great. You know, when I saw that, I sort of just chuckled to myself.
Yeah, Anguirus gets it in the face.
Anguirus gets it into the face. This is the first, if I'm right, Godzilla film with bleeding monsters.
Yeah, there's been some instances, like in Destroy All Monsters, when King Ghidorah's heads are getting stomped on, like he sort of coughs up blood,
Yeah,
but it's
that's
not really
right.
totally graphic.
But we have a wound.
Yeah,
our
like-
first wounds.
Yeah,
Godzilla
like-
gets a full shoulder.
Yeah, and it...
If I'm right, he kind of starts bleeding from the nose.
Yeah. Gigan's bashing his head in. There's
And that's right, he
blood
gets, like, blood in his-
trickling
yeah, he
down
gets
his
cut in the
face.
head.
It's horrible.
Um,
No, you're right.
I wrote in my notes that Godzilla gets his head panned in, which is true.
That's absolutely right.
So that part of the fight, when we're doing this really intensely violent 2-on-2 bloodfest, that was actually really entertaining to watch. That was something new that I hadn't seen with a Godzilla film, which was a very much like, wow, okay, like these guys are going at it. Which again is very strange coming back off the slight, All Monsters Attack.
Yeah,
was very light, children orientated, and even the last one there,
Hedra
didn't feel quite as menacing.
Yeah.
But again, that just goes to show you that the Godzilla franchise really can jump around.
Well, it's
with what they
yeah,
do.
exactly. It's interesting because Eiji Tsuburaya was against bloodshed in these films because he
And
thought it would put off children. But
different people in charge now.
He's
still a bit.
He was gone by this point, so
Yeah.
who's winning now.
But yeah, no, so that was a super interesting fight.
Yeah.
And Gigan is very, very cool. Like, I really like him.
Yeah, Gigan's fun.
And when Gigan, this is another random note that I have, when Gigan is first deployed in Tokyo and he's sort of walking through the city causing destruction, there's so many little shots of Gigan's foot kicking into stores and bashing into like ground level shops.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
I think it's a lot of fun because I like the idea that in front of him Gigan is destroying these buildings and towers and cities and stuff, but also the real nuisance, the real annoyance is that occasionally his toe is just popping into the front of storefronts. He's just kicking the displays. Not even like destroying the full store, just his wee sharp toe is just going under and bashing the mannequins around.
I actually don't have much else off the top of my head that I want to discuss terribly about this film. Like I said to you, I like the film, I enjoy it. I think it's like a solid lower range 3 stars for me, but there's just not all that much to it. Like Godzilla vs. Hedra, we sat and spoke about for nearly an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, it is a slight film, and I don't think there's much wrong with the fact that we don't have too much.
Yeah.
I would say again, it's a shame almost that just had there been a little bit more of a hands-off approach, had Tomoyuki Tanaka been a bit more willing to just see where the film would go.
Yeah.
Give a good director creative control and let them do what they would like to do, because that is what we got with the last film, Hedra. And Hedra was great, and even if you don't love that film, you can certainly agree that it has a lot to it.
Yeah.
And that the director that made it, it was made with an intention that it's what it was supposed to be.
Exactly. Well, you know what? It's interesting because earlier we did talk about briefly. We spoke about Marvel and their MCU as a joke, but there is a comparison to be drawn there, I feel, because obviously the Marvel Cinematic Universe films are overrun by Kevin Feige. And it's the position is comparable to Tomoyuki Tanaka and the Godzilla series. It's almost like one big TV show, and they're the showrunners, and the directors just sort of
here just fill in and
yeah.
move the actors around and get the footage.
And the Godzilla series, in this first run in a way, ran dry after 21 years, and because nothing new was really happening, and budgets were getting slashed more and more, and audience attendance was lowering and lowering, and I know there's no sign of that happening for Marvel yet. I know their films just keep going from strength to strength and from billion to billions. But
it's just that
you're gonna reach a point of no return.
Yeah, and our personal preference, I would say for both of us, is make a good film first and worry about how it connects.
Exactly,
how much it's going to make and how is it going to make that extra 10 grand? Is it going to make that extra 100 grand for us?
Yeah.
Don't worry about that as much.
Yeah.
But who are we?
Exactly.
Who are we to stand against the major marketing system for films?
Well, just to I said I had nothing really to bring up, but I've thought of it now that we mentioned Marvel. There's something we spoke about in previous episodes, is the idea of world building in these films, whether intentional or not. And there's, goodness me, excuse me, there's a few little instances of that I enjoy in this film. For example, Monsterland from Destroy All Monsters returns as Monster Island. But they mention, we've just been on the phone from Monster Island Control. Godzilla and Anguirus have broken out.
Yeah.
It's like, that's fun that Monster Island's still there. And to me, that indicates that this film takes place in the post-1999 world of Destroy All Monsters.
Yeah.
Which I can totally see.
No, certainly.
Because, as far as I recall, and I've seen this film a good many times now, so if I'm wrong, that's pretty bad on my part, but there's nothing in this film that dates it. They don't specifically mention when this film takes place.
No, I don't think so.
So to me, this takes place in the post-Destroy All Monsters world, which is a lot
I
of
could
fun.
certainly buy that.
Maybe King Ghidorah survived his gang beating. Maybe it's a new King Ghidorah, but it's.
But who's to say?
And there's the fun part where King Ghidorah and Gigan are first descending to Earth, and the Defense Force commander and officer in command just says, okay, we can hear the signals. There's two space monsters. One of them is King Ghidorah. I don't recognize the other one. And I like that, because it's like, okay, they've dealt with King Ghidorah before. Like, he recognizes it. He
knows what it means.
Exactly.
He knows what he can attempt to do to defend it. He knows what will not work, but he's going to have to do something.
Exactly. And in a way, it's like you've mentioned in previous episodes, Ross, the idea of shorthand. The audience knows who King Ghidorah is, so there's no point in going through the whole show and dance of King Ghidorah is a space monster.
Yeah, we know.
He comes from... Yeah.
Saying that, King Ghidorah and Gigan's introductions, very, very cool.
Oh, did you like that? Yeah.
I really like the effect work for that when they arrive from space. It's the red and the blue explosion. They burst out, they zoom back in, the explosion bursts in, out, reverse, forward, and then the monsters sort of emerge.
Yeah, King
from
Ghidorah
the
emerges from a sort of meteor, sort of fireball, calling back to his first appearance, and Gigan emerges from a sort of blue turquoisey green crystal.
Cyber crystal.
Yeah, which is, it's great. I really like that.
Gigan is definitely a cyber monster. That's definitely where I'm at.
Gigan's great.
Gigan's
cool. A lot of fun.
With his cool headset. VR. Gigan's doing VR. But no, I agree with you, Steven. The world building stuff is always good, and it's always nice to have a little bit of a connection on that level. That it feels like quite a consistent world. I always like the worlds where the monsters are established. I always like the worlds where our characters have dealt with monsters before.
Yeah.
And that's why the concept of the Children's Land, the Godzilla sort of themed play park, when I first saw that, I was really, really excited to see what would happen with that. And in the end, it sort of just ended up being more the setting. We didn't explore too much of the idea of actually running a monster-themed children's play park.
Obviously it's to do with the budget, but there would have been so much interest. That
could have been a really interesting avenue to explore.
Or even if I was going to say if Children's Land was busy during the final battle, if it was like full of families and kids, and if it was open.
Yeah, exactly. It's just that maybe it would have been nice to explore that concept, but
it would be interesting. It would be fun to see Godzilla like greeted by facsimiles of like Rodan and Anguirus.
Yeah,
and, like,
exactly.
And what if he met like a sort of a doppelganger of Minya?
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be a lot of fun.
Like a little man in a suit that is a Minya that is literally a man in a suit. That would have been fun. It's almost like we were saying there, the Chekhov's gun thing. If you put a giant identical Godzilla that's Godzilla sized in the movie, I kind of expect for that to walk around and to fight Godzilla, but
it does in a way.
Well, it doesn't. They use it to fire.
It's just a stationary weapon.
It's a stationary weapon.
And it is fun that its lasers resemble Godzilla's atomic breath.
That is cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is a really cool statue, a really cool tower. I like that effect a lot. There's actually one of my favourite shots in the movie is a very ominous pan out from the Godzilla tower. It's in the late evening, and a great pan out just over this building park. It's empty. It's not a real park. We know that it's essentially hollow.
Yeah.
It's all for nothing. It's all a lie. Really good shot.
Pan out, and then we pan out further to Japan, and then Earth, and then back into space, and that's when we get that great shot of Gigan and King Ghidorah coming in.
Yeah, exactly.
That's one of the that's what I said. Like I would make a case that say what you will about the Godzilla films within reason. they're all really well shot.
Yeah.
Like there's genuinely probably like at least one shot in each film that I just kind of go, whoa, that's great. That looks brilliant,
certainly.
yeah. And that's an example in this.
But in the end, we come down to the fact that our alien enemies overuse technology. They're
too reliant on machines,
which I get, which makes sense, but it doesn't ring quite true. It sort of is just a moral that is.
It's a moral for the sake of having a moral.
It's a moral that's given. But when you watch the film back or think about the film, there's nothing really in the beginning of that movie to open up that discussion.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just decided at the end that that's what their fault, that the aliens' fault was.
How could the machines fail us? We use machines.
Yeah. They drove around, our characters drove around in a car a bit.
Yeah.
What if the car didn't work?
Thomas Edison was a witch.
Thomas Edison was a witch. So was Tesla. Yeah, so I mean, but at the same time, I don't mind. I quite like the moral message at the end of the Godzilla films. It's always delivered.
Yeah, there's always
our 4, 5, 6, half a dozen heroes are assembled, typically standing on a cliff behind some trees.
And we will wave goodbye to the
waving
monsters.
goodbye, saying goodbye to our monsters as they walk off into the sunset or lick their wounds, go off to lick their wounds, and one of our guys will say, "Well, it looks like moral."
Yeah, exactly.
So that was one of those. It didn't ring particularly true or interesting.
Yeah, you're right.
But it was something to say at the end of the film.
I mean, yeah, Godzilla vs. Gigan to me is a really fun film. It's severely hampered. There's a lot about it I enjoy, but it's really a mixed bag. Gosh, am I willing to commit to this statement? Probably it's the weakest you and I have watched together so far.
I would say so, and weakest because I honestly think there have been films, the Godzilla films, that I've enjoyed less.
Yeah.
I think there have been Godzilla films that are technically worse. But for me, sometimes the worst sin is just being middle of the road.
Exactly.
Almost. It's
being
like
inexceptional.
Yeah, it means that I can watch it just fine, but I can sometimes get more out of a bad film, or talk more out of a film that didn't quite gel with me than a kind of film that I liked just fine, that I totally enjoyed.
Because we're both kind of treading water here, aren't we? We're just sort of, this was good, this was bad.
And so it was. So yeah, I'm quite happy to wrap up our conversation there.
Well, in that case, I'm going to throw out a little shout out to Hamish Steele, because hopefully you've all seen by this point. Hamish is one of our regular listeners and contributors, and also founded and used to run the Kaijusaurus blog before turning it over to me a few years ago. Hamish is
his portrait hangs in our studio.
He's an animator and illustrator extraordinaire, and he very kindly drew us some artwork, which is now our primary
official
artwork for the podcast.
He did royal portraits of us,
and hopefully you've seen it by now. But we freaking love it. There was just like for a whole solid week afterwards where I would just like have it open on my phone and look at it and just be satisfied.
No, I immediately showed my parents. This is what your son does. No, Hamish, it was a really great image. Yeah. It's so good. You captured our little personalities so well. So I mean, you guys at home, you probably think it's really cool as well.
It's cooler for us though.
It's cooler for us though, because it's actually us. So hopefully when you watch the podcast, you'll picture those two pictures of us chatting away.
Let's do a Ricky Gervais show style sort of thing. Just set animation to our audio.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. And we'll take the world by storm.
So thank you very much, Hamish.
Thank you very, very much, Hamish.
On the subject, back again, of Godzilla vs. Gigan, sort of the way this film is received, I think it's just sort of received in at least the Western fan base at large, just sort of how we
talked about it, which is just neither they here nor there.
It does swing more to the negative, I think, by and large, and it's usually end up in bottom 5 territory.
Yeah.
Which maybe I wouldn't do personal.
But I see why.
I see why it would. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean there definitely have been worse films. I don't think, if anything, I think it commits the sin of not being exceptional than it does the sin of any appalling stupid monster or silly thing. I don't think it does anything wrong.
No, it doesn't do that at all.
It doesn't do much wrong. It just doesn't do anything exceptionally
out there.
Exactly,
yeah.
So that makes sense.
Yeah, I do want to reinforce though that I do like this film.
I
think
have enjoyed
a lot of it is fun. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I've enjoyed every Godzilla film that I've watched so far. This one hasn't stopped me. You're not going to stop me yet.
Well, next time.
Yeah, no, so that is us.
That's Godzilla vs.
Now,
Gigan.
as always, once one is done, it's time to shun it. It's out my mind. I immediately forget what I was called. I forget what all the actors and all the characters' names were. I forget who all the monsters were. And now I want to know what the next film is going to be.
Well. I'm going to tell you this now and have this playing in your mind until we watch it. The next film is commonly regarded as the worst Godzilla film. It's usually tied with All Monsters Attack as sort of general consensus worst.
All Monsters Attack being one of my favourites.
Exactly. And I mean, so the next film it was featured on Mystery Science Theater 3000,
right.
Only one of 2 Godzilla films, the other being Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster / Ebirah Horror of the Deep.
Uh-huh.
The next film is Laura's favourite.
Right, okay.
And I'm sure she'll be joining us for the next one. I say I'm sure she has actually insisted since we started this podcast that she's coming on for this next film. Yeah.
So,
the next
am I going to watch?
Is Godzilla versus Megalon.
Excellent.
The title doesn't tell you much.
Who the hell is Megalon?
Well, we'll find out. Jun Fukuda's back, etc.
Excellent.
So
I do like Jun Fukuda.
He's a fun guy, but he did once famously say, "I don't feel like there should have been any sequels to the original Godzilla," which is very funny.
That is very, very funny. That makes me laugh a lot.
It's not totally obvious in his work, but when you hear that he said that, you kind of go, oh, "Okay."
Yeah, I mean, something like that makes sense for this film. I don't think that was true when he made Ebirah Horror of the Deep.
Absolutely not.
I love Ebirah Horror of the Deep. And I will love Jun Fukuda forever because of that film.
My favourite film of Jun Fukuda's is yet to come, though.
Right, okay.
And it's not the next one.
Okay,
so,
excellent.
I'll leave it at that. To me, in my opinion, Jun Fukuda is the unsung and underappreciated hero of the Godzilla series. That's probably a good way. That's probably a good place to leave it.
Yeah, certainly.
So thank you, everyone. You can find us on Instagram, Tumblr,
Twitter,
Facebook,
all of the above.
Facebook, Kaijusaurus Podcast, iTunes, Kaijusaurus Podcast. We've got individual Instagrams, individual Twitters, and Kaijusaurus.tumblr.com is the blog from which this podcast is spun off, and soundcloud.com/Kaijusaurus is where this podcast is hosted.
Thank you for joining us on a nice, slim, short wee podcast.
Yes.
As always, we've enjoyed ourselves.
Jesus, we're under an hour.
A sharp hour.
Nice.
That's how long this film should have been.
Bye, everyone.
Have a good one.